If you're fairly new to business or thinking about starting your own business and you want to make sales, then you are going to love this video because I'm going to give you 3 really powerful tips to help you do that don't require you having to become a sales superstar, doing anything gimmicky, or any of the common misconceptions that surround sales. So if you are excited for that, then let's get started. If you are new here, my name is Luisa Zhou. This channel is all about helping you build your own business and grow it so that you can create real freedom, income, and impact. All right, with that, let's start with tip number 1 that I want to share with you, which is that you can make lots of sales without having to be amazing at sales, because who is when they are first starting out in their business? If you find the right people. We're going to add on more to that in just a second, but I want to take a second, right, and really emphasize this. It is actually way more important to find the right people, aka your ideal clients, and we're going to talk about that in just a second, versus being amazing at sales. In fact, you can be pretty bad or mediocre or just bleh at sales if you have the right people. And by the right people, what I mean is someone who knows they have a problem, the problem that you help them with, who wants help with it, who has done their research and is ready and willing and able to buy right now. Now, what this is basically the different stages of readiness of a customer. This is a fairly common marketing theory. We don't need to go into all of the details, but the idea is along someone's customer journey, right up until they buy from you, there are a few stages that most customers go through. There's they have a problem, but they don't even realize it's a problem. There's the realizing it's a problem. There's the realizing there's a solution to the problem. There is the starting to look for a solution to the problem. Then there is the, okay, I'm ready to buy the right solution for me. I'm ready to take action, and okay, this is the moment. So essentially what you want to do as someone new in business is you want to find that lowest hanging fruit. And you can do this up to, I would say, about multiple 6, maybe even 7, low multiple 7 figures. You don't really have to expand to the other layers of the customer readiness journey unless you're beyond that. But starting with that lowest hanging fruit of people who are your ideal client, who are ready and excited and willing to buy. Now, the key here is you have to know where to find those people and how to find them. And that is what I would focus more of your time on than really trying to be amazing at sales right off the bat, because that is frankly something that just takes a lot of time. And if you do this, you're going to have a better business. It's going to be more profitable. It's going to feel better to you. Your clients are going to get better results, and they're going to be better clients overall than anything else. So that is tip number 1. Hopefully that helps you feel better about not having to go out there and learn how to be a sales superstar right off the bat, because again, nobody is, and that is a fairly tough skill to learn. The second tip that I want to share with you is that contrary to a lot of popular opinions or advice out there, you do not have to learn objection handling to be good at sales. I will tell you, I teach very basic objection handling, but I have never taught anything beyond that. And by basic, I mean that if something comes up, I teach being able to really identify what's going on, but not really trying to convince someone out of that objection. All right, so common objections might be, I can't afford it. I don't think that this is the right one for me. This is not the right time. I'm not ready. I need to go talk to my partner or spouse. Here's the thing. For the majority of these objections, your ideal client for a product, someone who is ready and excited to buy right now, those are not going to really be a point of fact. The only few exceptions are, for example, if someone's saying, I can't afford it, and they're saying they can't afford it because they don't really understand the value of what it is that you offer in relation to what it is that they want, then it's your job to explain that. But if someone is really saying, I really can't afford it, I won't be able to pay my bills, or just this is not in the budget, no amount of objection handling, quote unquote, in the world is going to overcome that, at least in integrity. Yes, some people will teach that you can really talk to someone about how it's worth it for them to, borrow against their 401k or take out their savings for an emergency fund or anything like that. I'm not a fan of that. So I really don't do objection handling. I spend most of my time identifying the right customers, especially early on in my business. I've been doing this for 8 years now in this business alone. And in the first few years, really all I did was just make sure I identified the people who were ready and wanting and willing and able to buy from me right now. So focusing more on that. And again, really about getting clear on how do I identify someone who is ready and willing and able to buy? Most of the time, there's something going on in their life or that has happened to trigger that, okay, this is it, I'm ready to buy now. For example, for a lot of career coaches, what they see is for their ideal clients, maybe they were passed over for a promotion by someone who they don't think was a better fit than them, or something happened at work where they just felt really unappreciated, or they were talking to one of their friends and realized that they're really underpaid. Something like that, that triggers an aha moment where it's like, okay, I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm finally ready to take action and I need some help. Something like that, identifying those moments or emotions that come up when someone is right at that perfect point, and then how do you find them, right? That's a whole other conversation in and of itself, which we'll talk about another day. But for now, let's make sure that you've got these 3 tips covered so that you can really own how to make sales and do it well and do it in a way that feels good and get the best clients. Now, the final tip that I have for you today is ultimately to make the most sales, especially if you're newer in your business and you don't have a big reputation online and you're not amazing at your marketing or copywriting or sales skills or any of the skills required most of the time to help you make lots of sales, then you do have something that you can really use. And that is the thing that drives the most sales, which is trust. Trust in you as the person, trust that you can help that person specifically and help them with their actual situation. So how do you build this trust? Of course, it helps if you have a lot of testimonials, if you have been around a lot, if someone can Google you and find just pages and pages of you sharing content, being interviewed, being featured on certain publications or social media, and having all this content and testimonials of your own. Of course, that helps. Nobody starts out with that. I definitely didn't. Started from the same place we all do, which is 0. But when you're starting out, you do have something else that bigger businesses actually don't have. You have the time and the bandwidth to share more of you, right? Because every single client is like, oh my gosh, it's a miracle that someone is even willing to listen to me and talk to me. Guess what? That's not a disadvantage. It's a huge advantage when you're starting out because someone with a bigger business, just using myself as an example, these days, I'm not that easy to reach. And that's because it's impossible for me to be. I have a lot of people on my email list. I have a lot of paying clients as well. At this point, I've had thousands of paying customers over the years. And, I try my best to be kind of connected with things and to see what's going on. But I can't sit around in front of my customer support inbox and answer emails all day. That's a full-time job. I have to, be doing better things that are a better use of my skills, like creating this awesome content for you. And so when you're starting out, an advantage you have is you have that time. You don't have that big audience. So guess what? They get more you. And when you realize that, because that's what helps the most when it comes to building trust with your ideal clients, then you get to use it to make more sales without all the gimmicky stuff. So how do you use that? I've got a few tips for you. So the first thing to do that you can do is if you know people who can refer you to someone and you can just speak to that person, right? Using your existing personal connections to build that trust. Great. That's an easy, low-hanging fruit place to start. If you don't have that, that's totally fine. I didn't have that either when I started. The next piece is to be really looking for people who are actively wanting that solution and are ready and willing to buy. This takes a little bit more time, but that's what you've got in the beginning of your business. And so I remember when I was first starting out, when I was doing advertising consulting online, I went into Facebook groups. Now, I'm not saying you have to use Facebook groups. I'm saying go where your audience is. It could be a certain forum. It could be a different social media platform. It could be a specific blog or community. And so knowing that, but using my example aside, I went into Facebook groups where my ideal clients who were small business owners were, and I saw someone asking very detailed questions about Facebook ads that showed that she was serious about it and she really did need help. And she wasn't kind of just looking for someone to do it for her. She was asking intelligent questions that showed that she wanted to understand. So I reached out to her. I actually wasn't trying to sell. I said, hey, I'm really good at this. I've done this in my career for a while and I'm happy to answer all your questions. All I ask in return is I'm new to consulting. I'm not new to this, but I'm new to consulting. If you would answer a few market research questions for me in return. And so she said yes. And I actually at the time wasn't thinking of selling anything, but it turned out to work out really well because I had accidentally identified the perfect ideal client. We chatted back and forth. She asked me lots of questions for 2 weeks, built up that trust, right? You use time, you use intimacy to build trust when you don't have the big scale, social media proof, the longevity, the brand, the testimonials, etc. There's always one or the other, and you always have one or the other. And so through that, she reached out to me after about 2 weeks of this and said, you've given me so much value for free. I know you know what you're talking about, obviously. And I know you can give me, help me so much more if we work together. So how can I hire you? And I will tell you, when I hopped on that, I actually had to say, please give me a week to do some research because I don't even know what I could sell. And I wanted to choose a package and a price that's fair to both of us. Then a week later, we hopped on a call. I had found some really bare bones script somewhere for how to do a sales call. I don't even remember where I found it. It was not that good. And I had kind of scripted out everything I was going to say in great detail. And I was sweating so much on the call. I mean, thank goodness it was not a video call. And soaked my shirt through. TMI, but you know what? I think that might be helpful if you're feeling nervous about this kind of stuff. And it was really bad, to be honest. But because she had that trust in me already, she told me later, she was like, I went on the call basically ready to buy from you. And that's because of the relationship that we already had. And so when you think about this, be thinking about what can I do to build that trust using my advantages as a new business owner that we covered to be able to do this. Now, I've got one other tip for you for how to build trust really powerfully and really quickly, actually on the actual sales conversation with a potential client, especially if you're selling a service like coaching. And that's a whole video in of itself because there's a lot of detail that we want to cover for that. So if you want that and you want to know how to do that really quickly and powerfully in a way that feels good, I'm going to put that video for you somewhere here so that I'll see you over there in that video.